If someone handed me $1,000 today and told me go build a product business, I wouldn't start by looking for products. I'd start by looking for manufacturers. Now, I know that sounds completely backwards. Most people think the first step is finding the perfect product. But after building businesses over the years, I've learned something. Finding products is easy. Finding products that you can actually source from manufacturers you can trust at a price that still leaves room for profit, that's the hard part. And that's exactly what I want to show you today. Not the next viral product, not some get-rich-quick Amazon strategy. Instead, I'm going to walk you through the exact sourcing process I would follow if I were starting from scratch today. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to research products. You'll know exactly how to research product categories, how I narrow down manufacturers, what I look for before I ever contact a supplier, and how platforms like madeinchina.com make that entire process a whole lot easier. Let's jump in. Stop looking for the perfect product. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is thinking they need to discover some secret product that nobody else has found. You don't. In fact, I'd argue that's the wrong place to start. Because products come and go, markets change, trends fade, but the ability to research opportunities, that's a skill you can use over and over again. So instead of asking what's the perfect product, I like asking a different question. What market do I actually want to explore? That changes everything, because once you pick a market, you'll usually discover dozens, sometimes hundreds, of potential products. So let me show you what I mean. The first category I looked at was pet products. And I picked this category for one simple reason. People love spending money on their pets, not because it's trendy, not because someone on social media said it was a winning niche, because it's an established market with consistent demand. So I started searching immediately. I started seeing dog leashes, slow feeder bowls, dog toys, and dozens of different variations of each. Now, here's what I want you to notice. I'm not trying to decide what I'm going to sell, at least not yet. I'm simply asking, is this a category with enough manufacturers and enough product variety to keep researching? Because if the answer is no, I move on. No emotional attachment, no forcing an idea, just research. And that's a mindset shift that can save you a lot of time. Business principle. Don't fall in love with products. Fall in love with solving problems. Products can change, the process doesn't. Now, maybe pet products aren't your thing. That's fine. The framework doesn't change. Only the category does. So next, I looked at garage organization. This category immediately caught my attention because there are so many practical products. Things like magnetic tool holders, wall storage, storage bins, tool organizers, products that solve everyday problems. And that's something I pay attention to. The best products usually make someone's life easier. As I kept scrolling, I wasn't looking for one specific item. I was looking for patterns. Are there multiple manufacturers? Different styles, different price points, customization options? Because every one of those gives you flexibility when you're eventually building your own brand. Again, I'm not buying anything. I'm still researching. I'm asking one question. Is this a category worth digging deeper into? Then I switched to something that's a little closer to home for me. Creator products. This one was honestly fun to explore. Laptop stands, monitor arms, desk mats, cable organizers, phone stands, light bars. If you've ever watched a YouTube setup video, you've probably seen products like these. And here's why I like looking at categories like this. They're visual, they're functional, and there are usually a lot of opportunities to customize them into your own brand. But once again, I'm still resisting the urge to pick a winner, because at this point, I'm asking the same question I've been asking from the very beginning. Not what's the best product, but is there enough opportunity here to justify going deeper? And after looking through multiple categories, I realized something. Finding products isn't actually difficult. Finding hundreds of products isn't difficult. The real challenge starts after this, because once you've found products you're interested in, you have to answer a much bigger question. Which manufacturers would you actually trust? That's where this process starts getting interesting. And that's exactly where madeinchina.com starts becoming much more than just a product search engine, because now it was time to stop searching for products and start evaluating manufacturers. This is where most people make their first expensive mistake. Now, if you're anything like me, after looking through hundreds of products, it's really tempting to start reaching out to suppliers right away. But this is where I think a lot of beginners waste a ton of time, because at this point, I'm not looking for more suppliers, I'm looking for reasons to eliminate them. That's a completely different mindset. The goal isn't to contact 50 factories, the goal is to narrow down your list to the handful that are actually worth talking to. And that's where these filters become incredibly valuable. The very first filter I turned on is audited suppliers. Now, why? Because before I care about pricing, before I care about minimum order quantities, before I even think about custom branding, I want to know I'm looking at manufacturers that have gone through an independent audit. That immediately helps me narrow my search to suppliers that have already gone through an extra layer of verification. Does that mean every supplier is automatically the perfect fit? No, but it helps me start my research from a much stronger position. Think of it this way. Every filter you apply should reduce uncertainty, not just reduce search results. And that's exactly what this one does. The next thing I like looking at is the leading factory badge. Again, I'm not making a buying decision based on one badge. I'm building confidence. When you're comparing manufacturers, every signal matters, because sourcing isn't about finding one magic supplier. It's about gathering enough information to make a smarter decision. The more confidence you can build before sending the first message, the better. Now, here's another filter I think a lot of people overlook: business type. You'll notice you can filter by things like manufacturer, trading company, group corporation, even individual businesses. Now, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you might choose one over the other. Personally, if I'm trying to build a long-term product brand, I usually want to understand exactly who I'm working with. Again, there isn't one right answer, but understanding who you're buying from is just as important as understanding what you're buying. Because at the end of the day, you're not building a relationship with a product, you're building a relationship with a supplier. And that's a distinction I think a lot of new entrepreneurs miss. This next filter might actually be one of the most important in the entire process. You'll see options like OEM, ODM, and own brand. Now, if you've never sourced products before, those acronyms can feel a little intimidating. But here's the simple way I think about them. If your goal is to build your own brand, you want to understand what level of customization a supplier can support. Maybe you already have a product design, maybe you want to customize an existing product, or maybe you're looking for a manufacturer that already offers products suitable for private branding. The important takeaway isn't memorizing the terminology, It's understanding that not every supplier offers the same capabilities, and I'd rather learn that early than after I've already started conversations. Now, at this point, I've gone from thousands of potential products to a much smaller list of manufacturers that actually deserve my attention. And honestly, that's where I think the real work begins, because products are easy to compare. Manufacturers, not so much. So the next thing I start doing is slowing down. Instead of scrolling quickly, I start paying attention to the details. One thing I always like looking for is variety. Can this supplier manufacture different versions of the product? Different colors, different sizes, different styles. Why does that matter? Well, because flexibility gives you options. Maybe today you're launching one product, but what happens 6 months from now? Could you expand your product line? Could you create bundles? Could you offer premium versions? These are the kinds of questions I want answered before I ever place an order. Another thing I'm always paying attention to is branding potential. Can this product actually become my product, not just another generic listing? Can I customize it? Can I package it differently? Can I build an actual brand around it? Because anyone can sell products. What creates long-term value is building something customers remember. And that's why I spent time looking through suppliers that support custom branding and manufacturing options. Not because I'm ready to order today, but because I want to know what's possible before I make a decision. And this is where I realized something that completely changed how I think about sourcing. I came into this experience to compare products, but instead, I found myself comparing businesses. Every supplier has different strengths, different capabilities, different experience, different manufacturing options, different ways of working, which means choosing a manufacturer isn't really about choosing who can make the product. It's about choosing who can help you build the business you want to build. That's a completely different way of looking at it. And honestly, it's probably the biggest lesson I've learned while putting this video together. Now, eventually, research has to turn into action, because you can compare suppliers all day long, but at some point, you actually have to start the conversation. What do you ask? How do you know who to contact? And once you're finally ready to place an order, how do you reduce as much risk as possible? That's what I want to show you next. At some point, you have to stop researching. Now, eventually, you have to make a decision, because you can compare suppliers forever. You can keep opening tabs, keep taking notes, keep searching for someone who's just a little bit cheaper, or has one more feature, or one more certification. But eventually, analysis has to turn into action. And that's usually the point where people start asking, okay, who do I actually contact? For me, I've done the research correctly. I don't want a list of 50 suppliers anymore. I want 2, maybe 3 that I'm genuinely confident are worth having a conversation with. Because at this point, I'm not trying to buy, I'm trying to learn. Now, before I ever place an order, there are a handful of questions I'd want answered. Things like, what's the minimum order quantity? Can this product be customized? What branding options are available? Can I order samples first? What are the estimated production timelines? These aren't complicated questions, but they're important because every answer helps reduce uncertainty before you spend money. And that's really what this entire process is about. Not finding perfection, reducing risk. One thing I really like is that once you've narrowed down your list, you can reach out directly to suppliers through the platform and start those conversations. That's a big shift from simply browsing products. Now you're actually moving toward building a relationship, and honestly, the quality of that relationship matters just as much as the product itself. A great supplier isn't just someone who can manufacture something. It's someone you can communicate with, grow with, and potentially work with for years. That's why I don't think of sourcing as finding a factory. I think of it as finding a business partner. Now, let's say you've done your initial research, but you're still feeling overwhelmed. Maybe there are too many suppliers, too many products, too many options. That's where I think tools like SourcingAI become really useful. Instead of spending hours trying to sort through everything manually, SourcingAI can help you move through the research process faster and make it easier to compare your options. Now, I still believe you should make the final business decision yourself. AI shouldn't replace your judgment, but it can absolutely help you get better information faster. And that's exactly how I think AI should be used in business, not to make decisions for you, but to help you make better decisions. Now, let's say you've done all your research, you found a supplier you feel good about, you've had the conversations, you've answered your questions. The next step is actually placing the order. And naturally, that's where a lot of people get nervous because now real money is involved. One thing I like is that MadeInChina.com also offers a secured trading service, which is designed to help buyers complete the trading process online, from payment through shipment, with protections built into the process. That doesn't replace doing your homework. You still want to research suppliers, ask questions, and make informed decisions. But having additional support through the transaction process can give you much more confidence as you move forward. To me, that's the right order. Research first, relationship second, transaction third. Putting this video together actually changed how I think about sourcing. I used to think sourcing was mostly about finding products. Now I think it's about building confidence. Every search, every filter, every comparison, every conversation, they're all answering the same question. Would I feel comfortable doing business with this supplier? Once you can confidently answer that, everything else gets a whole lot easier. So if I had to summarize my entire sourcing process, it would look something like this. First, choose a market you're genuinely interested in exploring. Not because it's viral, because you understand the customer. Second, research what's actually available. Look at different products, different manufacturers, different possibilities. Third, start eliminating suppliers, not by price alone, but by asking which ones inspire the most confidence. Use the tools available to help narrow your search, compare capabilities, and understand who you're working with. And finally, when you've done enough research, start the conversation. Ask questions, learn, and move forward when you feel confident, not rushed. That's the process I'd follow if I were starting from scratch today. If you've ever wanted to build a product business but didn't know where to begin, I hope this gave you a practical framework you can actually use. If you'd like to explore manufacturers, compare suppliers, or see what's possible for your own ideas, check out MadeInChina.com using the link in the description below. Take some time to browse different categories, play around with the filters, try SourcingAI. You'll probably learn more in an hour of exploring than you would from watching 10 videos telling you to just find a winning product. Because the goal isn't chasing trends, it's learning how to make smarter business decisions. If you found this video helpful, let me know down in the comments. What product category would you research first? I'd love to see what you come up with. And if you want more videos where we break down real business strategies, marketing systems, AI, and entrepreneurship, make sure you're subscribed. This is Zeus Ordaz. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.